All right, folks, it's 9 o'clock and there will probably be a few more joining us, but we should go ahead and get started. Let's see, just a few announcements before we start the actual training. First of all, welcome everyone on a Saturday morning. Very much appreciate your time. This is going to be the Club Service Project's e-assembly, and we'll do some introductions in a minute. But a few things before we start. These e-assemblies are being recorded, and after the sessions are over, they will be uploaded to our district YouTube channel. You'll all get a link to that, as will the other clubs who are not participating, so that other people can get the information. So because it's going to be on YouTube, be careful with our tone today. There's also going to be a post-assembly survey. So we need to get your feedback on how the training went, including the technology, but also the actual contents. You'll get the survey tomorrow. And we do need your feedback, especially given that this is a new approach that we're using to our district assemblies. And also, and we noticed this when we were logging in this morning, if you are not speaking, it may not be a bad idea to mute yourself. Sometimes we get some feedback, especially when we get a larger group. But if you do mute yourself, then if you want to participate, and this is an interactive training, it's not like we need to wait until we're done for questions. So if you have questions and you've muted yourself, just make sure that you unmute to ask your question, and that should work fine. So let's go ahead and do introductions. Let's see. Erin, why don't we start with you?
Well, so let me just say this, before we jump into introductions, I wanted to say welcome, and that for me, the motto of Rotary, Service Above Self, is like crucial to what makes me proud to be a Rotarian. And the idea that fellowship is the foundation for how we are going to perform that service in the world. So as you introduce yourself, what club are you from? What town is that in, if it's not obvious? And if you could say what your club's main or signature service project is at this time, because I want all of us in the room to start to be able to say, ooh, I heard about that project, and I know I should call Chris, because this is where fellowship starts as well. It's not just in the club. So let's make sure that we all get a chance to, get to know each other on the service level for a second. So I'm Erin Birch. I'm with the Clovis High Plains Rotary Club in Clovis, New Mexico. And our main service project that we've been conducting for the last few years is we distribute Andy and Elmer books, the Apple Dumpling story, to second graders throughout Clovis. And that story is a story about entrepreneurship and the four-way test. And so it's our outreach to our youth, and we're really proud of that. So that's it.
Awesome. Thank you. Let's see, Chris.
Okay, thanks. Good morning, everybody. Chris Van Dyke with Rotary Del Sol in Albuquerque. And our signature service project would probably be a Governor's Ball, I would assume. And that is a large gala event that the club puts on. We usually find a couple of, not usually, we always find a couple of charity organizations the proceeds would go to, and the event has a live auction, a silent auction, and then the proceeds go to a couple different charities.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Cheryl?
Hi, I'm Cheryl Saavedra. I'm from Roswell. I am currently Lieutenant Governor, will be district membership chair come July 1st. And our major service project is we have 3 clubs in Roswell. So we put on an all-weekend golf tournament. It's a tri-club event, and we raise $40,000 to $60,000, $70,000 a year, and we distribute that money amongst our community in a variety of ways. I personally do 2 scholarships, administer 2 scholarships out of the funds for that, from that particular golf tournament. And then we participate in a variety of other things like the Bridges to Prosperity. We do the Country Kitchen. Is that correct? I think it's a country kitchen where for our state fair we sell items to raise money for Rotary. But primarily our golf tournament is our big event.
Awesome, thank you.
So those are service projects within the fundraiser itself, where you fundraise and then the money goes straight to charities doing the good work.
Was that, I'm sorry, Erin, was that a question? Or was that a statement?
Because I was just trying to, so those are good. They're nice and direct and get a lot accomplished.
Right, and the good thing about it, from my perspective, is that it's a tri-club event. So it gets all the Rotarians in the community working on the same event, and it's a year-long event. The tournament is actually in July, although I won't be there because I'll be at Zone in Denver. And we start in January. We start working in January, and we work almost all year long on that event. So it's a great event.
Wow, awesome.
Okay, and we also have joining us our hours away from being inducted District Governor Dave Anderson.
Indeed, hours.
Dave, you're on mute. Let me, okay.
Sorry, sorry I'm late, folks. Can you hear me okay, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I had it on mute. I'm sorry I'm late, and I'm going to be nipping in and out because we have to, it doesn't look like a very promising day, and we have 90 people coming here in a few hours. So whatever, but please continue.
Thank you for joining us. Tina.
Yes. Hi, I'm Tina Reams. I can see you all on the screen. I don't have a webcam, so. But I'm with Metro Rotary Club in Albuquerque, and our main focus is providing musical instruments and things to APS schools. We are really working hard with Ernie Pyle Middle School right now for giving them instruments for their band and orchestra. And then we also focus on veterans, and we're helping the Veteran Integration Center, and also coming up here in July, we're doing a fundraiser dinner to help with the Desert Forge Foundation, which is a group of veterans helping veterans learn how to farm in the South Valley, and basically kind of trying to get them back into the community.
Awesome. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you.
Ronnie?
Hi, I'm Ronnie Wright from Las Cruces Rio Grande Club. I'll be the president in a few short days. One of our largest projects is Dress the Child. We have a dinner to the public in November, and then we have a club dinner where we raise funds. We try to dress about 500 kids that are provided. The names are provided by the public school district. And we get to go shopping with them, and it's about $120 per child. So it's a pretty substantial project for our area.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is that for back to school?
No, basically it's just kids that may not have new shoes, new coats, pajamas, the bare necessities. And so the names are provided to us from the school district.
Very good, thanks.
Thank you, Ronnie. Alberto.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm from El Paso. My name is Alberto Serrano, and I'm with the El Paso Camino Real Rotary Club. And our main focus in our community is Corazón de Niños. It's a program where we raise the substantial money, and we help families in Mexico, especially across the border in Juarez. And what we do is we together with a network of doctors from Mexico, all over Mexico, and We work also with St. Luke's Hospital to provide equipment and network hospitals, local hospitals here in Juarez. And then through a 3-phase sessions, we screened the kids that need that are having problems with their hearts, and eventually they need open heart surgery at the worst case scenario. So we're able to screen them for the first phase, and then second evaluation, and the third only to the ones that really need the surgery. We're able to bring the doctors, and we're able to provide the surgery here in town in the Juarez area. And so we work, that's our main program. And we also have other programs where we work with clubs from New Mexico as well to benefit the families in the Mexico area. That's pretty much. And we also do a very nice golf tournament every year, and that's where we raise most of the money for our programs.
Excellent. Thank you, Alberto. Suzanne?
You're welcome.
Suzanne Carlson from the Carlsbad Club, Carlsbad, New Mexico. And our big fundraiser every year is a golf tournament, which is going on now. And I'm so overwhelmed with things that we do. Probably our favorite, believe it or not, ongoing project is we, along with many other clubs in New Mexico, support a Guatemala water project where water is taken into villages where good, pure, clean water is not there. And we can do it for a fraction of what it can be done here. And so that's probably our club's favorite ongoing. And then locally, we've run local scholarships, and we take books into some lower socioeconomic schools and give each child a book in one grade level that have never owned their own book before. And then through the years, we do a lot to keep the parks, the playgrounds in the parks. For any of you that have been to Carlsbad, the playground down at what we call the beach. Most of you would laugh at what the beach is, but anyway, it's a river that runs through town and it's very developed. And we have a great playground down there thanks to Rotary. And we have many other projects in town, much very similar.
Awesome, Suzanne. Thank you. And it looks like we have our past district governor, Dick Jones, with us.
I am here. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our signature project in Santa Fe is our Pancakes on the Plaza, which we're getting ready for a week from Monday. We do it on the 4th of July. It's been done. This is the 41st time. Rotary has been running it for about the last 10 or 12 years. We'll have about 18,000 of our closest friends join us for breakfast next Monday. We sell tickets. They're $8 a piece. But the biggest portion of the money that we raise during this project is from sponsorships. And this year we will raise somewhere in the neighborhood of 115,000 in sponsorships. The third is dedicated to getting everything set up because we literally take over the entire plaza in downtown Santa Fe. We have 3 cook tents, 30 grills, 400 volunteers going, and we also have about 8 or 10 musical groups that perform on the gazebo. We have an antique car show, and it's truly a spectacular thing to see. But then in October, after the dust settles and everything, we solicit grants from local communities. They don't have to be exclusively Santa Fe, but primarily organizations that benefit the youth of Santa Fe. And we'll give away, last year we gave away $97,000.
Wow.
This year I think we'll give probably close to that. What we do first is take some of the money And the money from that fundraiser initially funds all of our youth programs. We have 2 Interact clubs in the high school. We have a Rotaract club that we're in the process of forming, and all of our kids that participate in RILA. That is all of the kids that attend RILA from Santa Fe, regardless of which club it is. Their tuition is paid from the money that we raise at the pancake breakfast, and it's become an extremely popular event. We're getting a lot of support from the Del Sol Club in Albuquerque. They bring a van load of people up every year to help us. We've had for the last 4 or 5 years, we've had our governor-elect come up and be with us. This year we have both Doreen and Linda, governor-elect and governor-elect nominee, that will be with us. For 2 years, we've had Governor Martinez come, and she'll take over a grill and has flipped pancakes for about 4 hours each time. So it's a great event. The one shortcoming that we have, and we're working very hard on this, is get Rotary the recognition that it deserves out of the event. So we have a newspaper wrap that has a schedule and everything in it. Last year, we only had the Rotary logo in it, I think, once. This year, we have it in 5 times. We're going to have banners across the plaza talking about different Rotary programs. So that's the one area that we really need to focus on, is getting that attention to Rotary and what Rotary is all about.
Awesome.
All right, Aaron, the show is yours.
Okay, well, that was good. Anyway, I don't know about you, but I was making all kinds of notes. It sounds like all of you guys are pros is what it really sounds like. So I'm just going to go through really quick, or not really quick, but we're going to talk about the service project committee. We're going to use the manual, kind of go through that. I would say the big secret is that there's a million things and everything you need to know on Rotary.org, My Rotary, and we all just need to get better at tapping into that for the basic guidance. So we're not going to read it, together, but we are going to go through it. And I kind of want to echo what Jeff said. Please pipe in whenever you have something to say, whenever you have a question, whenever you have an example, you name it, okay? So before I load this up, I just want to say that in various clubs, and I'm from a very small club, about 15 people, and so I think what it really boils down to is that we need to remember that these things are done by committee, that nobody does these things alone. And so as we tackle our service projects, it's the committee part, I think that's the most powerful part of it. That in committee, I'm gonna load up the book. But the committee, handbook starts with, lead your club. That's like the message on all these handbooks. And the committees are about leadership. And they're about collaboration, which is really, it's your chance to utilize the expertise and the individual gifts of your members and bring them into the room. And just like I already said, Rotary was created with the idea that fellowship could lead to service, that fellowship could be the foundation for serving our community. Well, in your committee, that's what you're really fostering. And, you know, Cheryl's about to become district membership chair. I promise you that your involved members, they are Rotarians. You're going to keep them longer because they're involved, because you give them a chance to do the work of Rotary, and they get a chance to feel that. That committee is where for shared responsibility. It's also for shared goals. And I think that's something that we lose sight of too. You know, we've got to be clear about our goals when we start out on our committees, and make sure that everybody's pulling in the same direction, that we don't have different people headed off to different destinations. And I just come back to the idea that in the committee, it's all about fellowship again. So I'm going to flip through our little book here. And how many of you have already downloaded this book and I'm like preaching to the choir? Yeah, Jeff waves his hand.
Yep.
Chris has not seen the book.
I have. I distributed it to the committee.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, it's just a nice little PDF. It's got some, like I said, plenty of good resources in it, but we'll talk about it right now. So as I just said, you know, fellowship. So in this first part of, you know, the roles and responsibilities, they start out by saying to remember to open your arms wide to your community and to everybody who has a part to play in your service projects. It's kind of like hearing Dick talk about that pancake event. Holy moly, 400 volunteers. Those are not all Rotarians, right? They can't be. Well, unless you're...
No, they are not all Rotarians. There are a lot of Rotarians, Rotarians from other clubs. We get a lot of volunteers from the organizations that are sponsoring us, but it's actually become a tradition within the community. There's one family that comes in from Oklahoma City every year to work on it. One family has built their family reunion around working at it. So it's truly a matter of it has become a tradition in Santa Fe to participate in pancakes, just like the Fiesta has.
Right. Wow. So, you know, the starting off the manual is this basically invitation to each of us to open our arms up to everybody who could participate, to our Rotarians, our family and friends, to other community organizations, the Rotaract clubs. You know, I love that in Roswell they do a tri-club golf tournament. You know, don't forget that people want to help. And as Dick said, you know, people get a charge out of helping. So capitalize on that and help them enjoy it and keep coming back. You'll do so much more, and just, you know, so much more is possible. So moving on, you know, when it's time to do your project, Rotary would ask you to, you know, to make sure that what you're doing is fitting a bona fide need. So that you're not just adding glaze to something that's already, you know, you're not just doing window dressing, that you are making a difference for a reason. And if it's a reason that the community can really get behind or feel or see the need, it's going to be that much more appreciated and that much more visible. And so, you know, assess the situation. They have links to community assessments, etc. But there's plenty of ways for you to figure out, you know, what are the burning issues in your community that you might be able to help with. You know, I think this little checklist, you know, choose a project, make a plan, carry out your project, and evaluate the project. it's the, you know, the standard how you get anything done. I would just remind everybody to remember to evaluate it at the end. Remember to sit down and say, how did it go? And kind of go back to the top. Like, we had identified this need in our community and we carried out this project. Did we affect the need or did we miss the mark? You know, sometimes you get a project started and the next thing you know, you're off on a tangent. But not all tangents are bad. Let me just say that. But just kind of be aware of where you're headed and if you got there. This next section of the workbook lists the Rotary service priorities. And so they're, you know, as Rotarians, we want to be making a difference kind of all along the same trajectory across the world. And there's not hardly anything that's worth doing in your community that probably doesn't fall in this. So I don't think it's a hard thing to find projects within these areas. It does help you kind of, again, sharpen that sense of what's missing in our community, what issue is burning that we need to address in our community through these topics. And I wanted to stop a second and say, because it mentions these the avenues of service: club service, vocational service, community service, international service, youth service. Can I ask really quick for everybody to kind of voice in, do you have a separate committee for, say, vocational service or youth, you know, new generations youth service, or does that fall under the purview of your service committee?
Erin, we have our own new generation committee. So everything that's youth goes through them.
Okay, and okay, very good. But then the rest of it, like, do you have a vocational committee?
No, we do a dictionary project. We do different things, but everything else falls under the service committee, the projects.
In our club, I believe all that falls under the service committee.
Okay.
It's all under service for us too. We're a small club, so we do it all.
Right.
We do have a vocational committee that takes on certain projects. They're in the process of developing a club directory that lists all the members, but also lists their vocation and their willingness to serve as mentors for our youth programs in certain areas. So it's kind of bridging both club service and vocational service.
Good.
Erin, this is Jeff. Possibly as a reminder, earlier in June, we did e-assembly sessions on each of the avenues of service.
Mm-hmm.
And those assemblies are also on our district YouTube channel. So please feel free to take a look at those, especially if some or all of those avenues of service are part of your service projects committee.
Very good. So, okay. You know, and so again, in your manual, back to the manual. Oh wait, hold on. I was going to say something about that, but now. Well, so you know, being from a small club, but it sounds like plenty of us, you know, you put one committee together, why not have it kind of take on all the things that are service related? I think that happens a lot. And so, as Jeff said, you know, I encourage you to think about these other hats you're wearing and see how you can incorporate, if not, you know, a separate project related specifically to vocation or new generations or whatever, but maybe you can kill two birds with one stone. And again, always figuring out how to tap into the expertise that's in your club, that's around the room, that's at the committee, that's, you know, people in their everyday life are doing great things, and they can just shift the focus a little bit and widen that scope and make a big difference in the community if we'll just remember to ask them to do that. So here in the manual, there's a list of different, you know, things that can fall under service opportunities. And fundraising. So I kind of was pointing out that a couple of folks, like their service project is a fundraising project, with the outcome being, you know, funds doing good service. I think that these things go hand in hand, right? Nothing happens for free. Everything we do has some aspect of cost to it. And our community is going to be moved forward by investments in different organizations, investments of materials. So you always have to have a fundraising avenue with what you're doing. And I think that hopefully everybody, it sounds like everybody, you know, is well at. The fundraising side of things, sometimes what's interesting to me is you get a service committee together and they're ready to, you know, go, I don't know, build a house, but they're not ready to fundraise. So when you first get your committee together, you kind of got to make sure that everybody understands the flip side of the coin. That first we have this project, we have this goal, we have this change we want to make in our community, or this difference we want to see that we can be part of. And in order to make that happen, let's have a fundraiser. Let's gather those resources. And every time you do that, make sure that the dots are connected so that people who are participating in the fundraiser see the ultimate goal. They're very much aware of that. Just like Dick said, they feed 18,000 people on the Pancake Day. Sorry, Dick, I was very impressed with the Pancake Day. Okay, so they feed 18,000 people on the Pancake Day, but the money, the most of the money comes from sponsorships. Because if you've ever, you know, sold a widget to make a buck, you know that you spent $2 to sell a widget for $3 and you earned only one more buck, right? But the sponsorships need to show that, connect the dots of, we're going to take your donation and we're going to solve this problem. We're going to put water into a village in Guatemala. We're going to, you know, help children have open heart surgery. We're going to, you know, put books in the hands of children who never had a book. Now you've got power. Now you've got the power of the person who's giving. They are thinking about it differently. And so always work on PR into that. And I was kind of happy. I was happy to hear that, again, in Santa Fe, that they, like a lot of us, I think, we sort of forget the PR part, and that they're aware that, like our logo needs to be all over this. Our education of what we are and who we are and what we do needs to be all over this event. People should not be able to miss the fact that they're eating pancakes and helping Rotary accomplish something. So we need to tie those things in, and it takes a whole lot more planning almost sometimes than the service part of it. So I just caution everybody to, you know, get all your folks on board for that part of it too, that end of it. And it's amazing how many people are doing their heavy lifting with golf tournaments. I don't golf. I guess I need to golf. I need to get that out. Okay. In the manual, like toward the back here, you see we're getting into some of the really nitty gritty, right? So we, you know, starting up front with like, oh, we're going to change the world. Yay. And then it's like, and bummer, you got to raise money. Okay, and then double bummer, you got to insure it. You got to ask yourself what can go wrong. And this is at both halves of it, right? Your fundraiser and service project. You need to be looking at it. This is again where getting the expertise in your club, getting the expertise in your committee, opening your arms wide to people who have done your project before, done your fundraiser before, so that they can say, you know, we really need to watch out for this, because one year we had a valet crash into the tree, and then we ended up having to pay for that car, right? Or whatever. You don't know, you're never going to know what's going to happen. You do want to just reduce your risk and try and make good decisions and make good plans that avoid things, reduce problems that might come up. Anytime you're doing something with youth, if it's, you know, anything hands-on with youth, if you're going to utilize your Interact Club in some way, you might not have thought of this really, but okay, you have an Interact Club, it's a bunch of high schoolers, and probably your liaisons from your club who work closely with the group, they've got background checks, they've been through some training, but suddenly you're going to have a service project, and those kids are going to come and they're standing right next to not only your members but members of the community. You know, again, picture Dick Jones with his 400 volunteers doing Pancake Day. You need to think if there's a challenge there, if there's a need for youth protection to be in place, what kind of contact everybody's going to have. Probably Pancake Day doesn't require anything, but you need to think about it. You need to make sure that you're not accidentally putting kids at risk because you haven't sort of seen them as a child in that moment. You know, you need to realize that unfortunately our children are vulnerable to all kinds of things and people, and we need to just have an eye out on that. So here's another advertisement. Go back to Rotary, myrotary.org or Club Central, learn more.
Yeah.
I also want to, I think it comes up here, but I want to just say too, share your story. Oh, I wrote something down and I forgot to say it. Okay. So as you're working in this committee, something that I've started to do in my own world of working with a lot of committees is I try to end the meeting with the last question of, have we decided something in the room today? And if so, how are we going to communicate it? How many times have you had a meeting, made decisions, made a plan, made whatever, and everybody got up and left the room, and, you know, 2 weeks later, you're not even sure what you decided, or, you know, that board meeting and they go, and here now from the service committee, and you go, well, it was a great meeting, and, you know, make a plan before you get up from the table. Sometimes that communication is even back to the table. Who's gonna send out the notes on this? Who's, you know, hopefully you've maybe documented some of this, but I don't know. I live in a world where not every meeting gets documented. Not every decision gets written down in exactitude of what was said. So at the end of a meeting, if you didn't do those things, you don't have a minute taker, you need to spend a second and say, okay, what did we decide? All right, we decided to go with the blue and not the red. Okay, write that, right? And we decided we need to ask the club members to do X, Y, Z. Okay, well, who's going to do that? I mean, so that's when you can start delegating. That's when you can start saying, oh, and somebody could pipe up and say, oh, we need to make sure this gets on Facebook. Oh, okay, well, we need to, you know, when you have to come back around to the communication piece, because that is where everything makes or breaks, right?
Mhm.
I mean, I spend all my life recreating the broken chain of communication. I mean, I hope I'm not alone, but it just, it never fails that you get 3 weeks out and somebody says, well, I was pretty sure we chose red. And you're like, no, we even sent out, luckily if you can say, we even sent out an email that said we chose blue. The communication piece, not only back to the table, but back to the club and to your other partners, to the public, every step of the way. If you get out of your service club, service committee, and you go on Facebook and say, oh, we're so excited about our upcoming project. Don't you want to get involved, right? See who hits like, right? It's just a good way to be accountable and moving that piece forward, that communication piece forward. So on that note, please share that. The reason I remembered the communication piece is share that back with Club Runner, right? On Club Runner, there's a place where we can all upload our projects and pictures and what have you. It doesn't take long to put a picture up and a few words. Some of us maybe, I'm not in the habit of checking Club Runner all the time. I need to get there. I kind of think that maybe as things go along, Club Runner might be something that is open on my iPad as I'm in a meeting. You know what I mean? There's no reason why we even have to do things on paper anymore, some of it, right? Attendance, yada, yada. So keep coming back to Club Runner, because the fellowship is not just in your club, it's in the district, it's worldwide, but we can't get out of our club until we communicate. So please share. Okay.
Aaron, can I just interject on that real quick?
Yeah.
Dave Anderson called me and he had to get off the conference call, but he wanted me to, just like you were saying, just remind everyone that one of the most significant initiatives for this upcoming Rotary year is that on the district website, there is already a kind of a new calendar, not just the calendar of where the district governor is going to be and all of that, but a place to upload or to send to Danette Wagner your club's upcoming projects, social events, things like that, not just for information, but also for possible collaboration. So that calendar, I think, is going to be very helpful to identify opportunities for us to work together on some of these projects.
This is Suzanne Carlson, and I'd like to interject something here. I used the word favorite when I said the Guatemala Water Project, and it's probably, I don't know if it's favorite, but it's the most endeared, I think, and it's the first thing that comes to mind, and it's for a simple reason. The little gal that runs it, I can't think of her name right now, she comes back to our club every year and shows us exactly where our money went. It's only communication. She comes back with pictures and she tells the story. And we get excited again, and we do it again and again and again, and we keep giving more and more and more. And it's just through communication. If we just gave our money and we never saw what happened, would we give as much next year?
That's right.
Would we get as excited about it next year?
You'd
I
probably
don't know, but she can communicate. She's a great communicator.
Her
It
name is
stays in
Deborah
touch.
Simon,
Yes.
and she's already got her visit to the Rotary Club of Carlsbad scheduled for this year.
August 3rd.
Yeah.
Yes, we scheduled it. And he gets so
And-
excited when she's coming. We're like, she's coming, she's coming.
Well, let me put in a plug. If you haven't had a chance to go on one of those trips, do. It was on my bucket list for years, and I finally worked it into my schedule this year, and it was absolutely incredible.
Awesome. Well, she just keeps us really pumped up about that. Really pumped up about it, and we're excited.
Well, when you can go back and see a project that was completed in the year 2000 and it's still functioning and providing clean water to the people that you intended it to, I think you realize how well spent your money was.
Absolutely, absolutely. And don't you think that her coming back every year to the clubs that have given and showing where their money went, just communicating, we're right back to communicating, that makes a difference?
It absolutely does, yeah. Yep.
Yep. And each one of us, every time we do a service project, we have that same opportunity to do the same thing. But how many of us do it, right? How often does the thing you've been doing for 10 years just turn into the thing you've been doing for 10 years? And you forget to take the pictures of the smiling kids, and you forget to, celebrate the whatever. You know what I mean? So we need to not forget. We need to communicate it. We need to tell that story, and like Suzanne said, bring the heart back to it, because if you lose your excitement for it, your club will lose. They'll move on. They'll move on to something. All right, so I just want to flip here to the end really quick of the book. So there's all kinds of things in here. So I really, really, really encourage you to get out your book. And then at the back of the book, it says District Assembly Discussion Questions. I would sit down with this as the chair of your committee and let it remind you of what you can do to get ahead of your committee plan for the year. Maybe you are super excited about what you've been doing forever and ever. Maybe you're not. Maybe your project has been dwindling. Maybe it's time for the club to set new goals. Maybe you have to ask yourself in a while, is this what we want to be doing? So, please have your club leadership, have your club recommit themselves to your goals of your service committee, so that you can have their full buy-in, their full support, and their excitement. Just even Suzanne's voice was all excited just hearing her talk. You could tell that she's not just proud of it. I mean, she is like personally invested in that. And if you can get that, that's like magic, right? You can do anything when the members are personally invested like that. I want to share something really quick, and let's hope I can figure it out because I haven't done it very many times. So I'm on Facebook a lot. I do a lot of Facebooking for my United Way and for Rotary and about 4 other organizations that I help out with. A Facebook account that I follow and get a lot of pleasure from personally is Upward. And I don't know, I don't know if any of you have ever heard the story about the pizzeria that was feeding the homeless. How many of you saw this story on Facebook, or it could have even made it to the news, but I don't watch the news. But
And
any story?
Nope.
Oh, okay. So you've got this pizzeria, and I'd have to scroll down to see where he's even at. But anyway, basically, one day there's a customer, there's a homeless guy in there, a guy thing, and I think that the owner of the business gave the homeless guy a piece. Okay? The customer sees that and starts with the owner a little bit, and he says, yeah, he comes in here every once in a while. Some days he can pay for it, some days he can't, so every once in a while I give him a free piece. Well, so that customer says, well, I have to buy his next piece of pizza. So the customer puts down $1, plunk, And the owner says, okay, and he takes out a yellow sticky pad, a Post-it note, right? And he writes, 1 free pizza, right? And he puts the sticky note on the wall. Awesome. To remind him, so the next time the guy comes in, he can get his free piece of pizza, right? Well, so people started to see the sticky notes and ask, what the heck is that? And they were like, oh my gosh, what a good idea. This man started selling homeless pieces of pizza. How long was this little video? I'm gonna share this video. Maybe. Maybe not. Okay. But anyway, so people started buying an extra pizza for homeless people. Okay? And it happened every day, thousands. So they've given away 23,000 slices of pizza. They, you know, of course, business is booming because, like, you can't sell 23,000 slices of pizza without, of course, selling other pizzas too at the same time, because these are your customers tacking on $1 for a piece of pizza. So his business was going so big, he had to hire more employees. So he said to himself, well, let's do that with some homeless project. So he found an organization that was helping to train homeless people. He started working with them to get the new employees. He started promoting it, okay, through art and apparel made by artists, okay? And look at all the Post-it notes, right? One of those is a meal. Okay, and those are on the wall waiting for a homeless person to come in. Okay? So in my opinion, so as a club, we're coming together, we're doing service projects, we are changing our community, we're constantly saying, you know, we're gonna work together and do something. This story is the story of one person in their workplace. It's like vocational service on steroids, okay? He's a pizza guy, right? If we all sat and thought about like what redeeming value the guys have for the world, we might have missed this, right? If he gets a chance to feed 23,000 homeless people, then he gets a chance to not just expand his business and do a greater, putting money in his pocket and you know, he gets to expand into helping more homeless people. It's powerful. It's powerful about the personal switch that we can flip that says, what I do every day is a service to people, makes a difference in people's lives, can honestly change someone's life and stop them from being hungry. We each have the power to say. In Rotary, we can magnify that. We can come together. We can do amazing things. We can also, every day, one Rotarian at a time, find yellow sticky that we can help somebody's life every day, hundreds of times a day. So I just leave you with that kind of thought about the power of vocation, the power of being a force for good in our community, the power of seeing people and having a heart for them and being open. And I thank all of you for coming and for being part of Rotary. And I'm super excited by all the projects that were talked about here today. I can't wait to hear about them all again, and the new ones and the greater things we're going to do. And I just want to challenge each of us to remember that every day we have a chance to touch somebody's life, and there's power in it. So don't miss your chance.
Wow.
So that's me.
That's awesome, Erin. Thank you. We have a couple minutes for questions. I also wanted to convey one other message from Dave before he had to get off the call, which is that if any of the projects that you're planning this year are ones that you're considering using the community or the district grant process, to help supplement whatever funding you need, that you had people attend that mandatory grants management training. You had to have 2 members of the club attend, and to have the grant applications submitted by mid-July to get into the pool for this year. That's just for the district grant. So he just wanted me to remind everyone of that. Any questions? We've got a few minutes before we close up shop.
I would just say that if anyone wants to come to Santa Fe on the 4th, I would be glad to have you as my guest for breakfast that morning.
Nice.
In exchange for a little work, huh?
Well, no, I wouldn't even make you work that day. Next year, I might ask you to take a shift, but yeah. The first one's always free.
That's how all the good pushers do it.
Yeah, you bet.
That's July 4th.
Yeah, it's July 4th. This year will be our 41st year.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That is,
Any other questions?
And it's at the Central Plaza, the main plaza in Santa Fe?
Yeah, right downtown.
Yeah.
You can't miss us.
Okay. Okay. I may travel down there next weekend. I may. So
Okay. Well,
I'll look forward to seeing you.
if when you get there, just go over to the volunteer tent and tell them that you're looking for Dick Jones, and they'll know where I am.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
okay, well, I just want it to be noted that I didn't use all 60 minutes that I was given.
Nice.
I mean, on time. So.
Any other questions, comments, anything else while we have another minute? If not, we'll end the meeting, but I wanted to see if there was any other input before we close.
Nope.
Okay, well, again, I want to thank everyone. I especially want to thank Aaron. Fantastic job. You'll get the survey tomorrow. We need your feedback on how this went, because we can certainly make improvements going into next year. If you are going to stay on for the membership assembly, that starts in 15 minutes, so you can just stay on and you can mute or turn off your video. For those who are not, have a great rest of your Saturday. And you can go ahead
Thank you.
and end the meeting on your end, because I'm going to be staying logged in. Thank you all very much.
Aaron.
Thank you.
It was nice to meet all of you.
Nice
Thank
to
Thank
meet
you
you.
very much.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
Good weekend. Bye-bye.